Since the Texas legislative session kicks off on January 10th, we wanted to provide you guys with some context for what the Texas Blockchain Council is working on from a policy perspective. In order to research and craft good policy, we work closely with public servants and various Texas regulatory bodies, as well as dedicated legislative staffers and policy directors for Texas elected officials. And of course, no bill or resolution gets filed without our amazing legislative champions. Leaders like Representative Giovanni Capriglione, Senator-elect Tan Parker, Representative Cody Harris, Senator Angela Paxton, Representative John Boosie, and Senator Nathan Johnson are just a few of the elected officials that we are excited to get to work with in the upcoming session. With that said, here are a few things that our policy committees are working on. There is a need for a bill that would incentivize more large flexible loads, like Bitcoin miners, to participate in ERCOT's large flexible load category in order to bring about greater grid stability. Flexible loads are a much more efficient way to bring about reliability than, say, batteries or other expensive options. Second, given the implosion and fraud at FTX, there's a clear need for light touch regulatory framework that brings about greater transparency to digital asset exchanges. So we are working with a group of subject matter experts and TBC member companies to craft best practices around Merkle-assisted proof of reserves and liabilities to make sure that there is never again a situation like what happened at FTX. Some other policy that we're working on is a policy that would enable more Bitcoin miners to work with oil and gas operators to help end flaring in Texas. When an oil well hits associated gas, sometimes they have no choice but to burn that gas in a flare, since that'd be better than venting it into the air. Bitcoin miners can help mitigate the challenge of flare gas by bringing a mobile data center and a generator to the well site to help utilize this what would otherwise be wasted energy. Not only is there a 63% reduction in the carbon impact when the gas is redirected from a flare to a generator, but you're also creating another revenue stream for the well operator and extra jobs and economic activity for that region. So we are working on some legislation that would help facilitate this process. Okay, next up we have decentralized autonomous organization legislation. This is quite complex, but in short, decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, represent a new way to form entities that involves a unique governance structure. We want Texas to be home to innovative and growing companies, so we're working with ATX DAO and SMU law professor Carla Reyes to research best practices for DAOs. There may be some legislative tweaks that can help facilitate more of these companies forming and building in Texas. We're also working with various stakeholders to see what blockchain technology can do in the area of land administration. There may be space for a pilot project that would see rural counties being able to digitize some of their land records and use blockchain in parallel to that process to experiment with more efficient land registry processes. The Lightning Network is a small but growing Layer 2 payments network built on top of Bitcoin. We want to encourage more retailers and businesses to accept Lightning payments, so we're working on legislation that could provide incentives for businesses to adopt this technology at point of sale. Furthermore, we want Texas to custody Bitcoin in cold storage and put it on the balance sheet of the state. This undertaking may not be achievable in the short term, so we're considering establishing a Texas Bitcoin Trust that could custody Bitcoin donated by Texans that would eventually be given over to the Texas comptroller at the point that they could accept it, and on the condition that Texas agreed to a minimum holding period. Lastly, we are working on 3 joint resolutions that serve as statements of affirmation from the Texas legislature. One discusses Texas's opposition to a central bank digital currency. The next is a resolution affirming the rights of Texans to hold virtual currency anonymously with other pro-privacy and pro-freedom ideas. And the last is a joint resolution on privacy rights for users of digital services. Well, that was a lot. I hope you guys will subscribe to our channels and sign up for our emails to be kept up to date with all of these initiatives. And if you want more influence on the process, join the TBC and help us push these and other initiatives forward.